be joining us, but we are on the 13th night of our 15-week journey. So you're almost done. Megan is real excited because tonight she gets to do her final presentation, and I believe there's one more after tonight. I'll do my final PEASL 10 presentation tonight, and then I will next week, I'm going to talk about the case studies. I know all of you've done the case studies, or most of you have done the case studies, so what I want to do is I want to go over and perhaps Dr. Worrell and I talk about in real life, this is some of the things that you need to do too. And Dr. Worrell, you and I can talk a little bit at the end of it, but the case studies are designed as the Gardner-Webb's master's program, and when you get into the doctoral program, if you decide to go that route, the program is designed around real life practical application of your degree. It's not a lot of research based. It's not a lot of built on theory, even though we have that basic framework of theory. What we try to do in the Gardner-Webb program is to really immerse you into what you need to be successful on day one. Now, before we start, a couple of things. You shared an email from today, opinions, surveys, satisfaction surveys. Those are, you are not new to this, you probably SOIs, but they are now the student satisfaction survey or something. You also get new touch point kind of and the line behind it is that we use field instruction and group instruction. Yeah, do evaluation components, but the real beauty of what we get, because every semester we get really awesome ideas from our students class. I encourage you to fill that out and to answer it as you would, as truthfully as you can. Any great suggestions or any suggestions at all on how we can improve this program, please do so. You should be getting you did get an email from me today, you should be getting one from the university either today or tomorrow, and I think it comes from Jeff Tubbs or someone in the office of student accountability. I think it's what it's called, institutional accountability. So please don't overlook that. That's very important. Now, I'm going to remind you of these deadlines. I'll just remind you that we talked about this in town hall meeting. Those of you who thank you very much. Dr. Lamb, I'll without going over some of those interview questions. All of those, by the way, are in week 15 of your Blackboard shell. So everything that you know, the corresponding document, something under week 15. If I'm not mistaken, here, I'm not saying I actually have a shell.
So, how did you before? And how many interval rows this? So, that's the next mission. So, I'm going to so, I'm going to is going to our mission actually for free time there. I'm going to do this and we'll see. So, so that's the general is right. I'm going to so, you know, here and then we'll do another week. We're going to do it for and we're on. And so, we can help you and leadership, section all having 3.8% higher. On the advanced report, there are 2 areas of need: systems, curriculum, and equitable challenge learning experiences, and Charles Must teams develop thinking and social studies at the next level. So on the next slide, this is the first problem. So I said the students at the school have access to the same curriculum as the peers in the county and the state. The curriculum is non-virtual. The part reading our math curriculum is virtual. That's also for district, not also for state. But they're having problems with the curriculum challenging activities across the board. Some of the teachers required to code for virtual learners as well as face-to-face students. And then as a technology goes with the curriculum, is aligned with the standards. So we actually switched over our math curriculum because previous math curriculum was and we have to for several years. So to make sure that it's all aligned, there's just a lot of this and it will help make sure that it's equitable and and then from advanced ed, the second one, this is year sponsor and improvement of practice teachers to ensure student success. So for me, in the area of individual area, each teacher is going to take action. Not supposed to get in how operations work, it's all being based on the local level, so share resources inside that also like to get on the on the like the challenge. That is words the is not that here. I'm going to start with some of the words also available. These are other versions are principles people and they want to run for as it is. Well done.
Next issue is the last reference. Work as well as your whole student body population and your staff. You're always looking for ways in which to make it better. Now, better doesn't always mean higher grades or higher scores. Better means, are those children getting what they need? And so scores, yes, it's important that third graders are ready for fourth grade academically, but it's also important that third graders be ready for fourth grade in a number of other ways. And it is equally important that that ESL child is ready for the next grade. Equally important that that exceptional children child is ready, or children who come from a variety of different backgrounds and cultures. We need to make sure that they're all ready. So as a principal and assistant principal, as you're sitting across from me and I'm evaluating you, my question to you is, what are you doing to make your school more effective for students, teachers, staff, family, and the community? Element B is that you are, because this is all about the continuous improvement, and that is making sure that it's all related back to your mission, vision, and core values. You can have the greatest continuous improvement, but if it's not related to what you say is important, then it's probably not important. So everything you do needs to be related back. Every improvement, every way in which you try to become more effective needs to be related back to that achievement of the vision, mission, and the core values. So remember, when you get to your new assignment, your assistant principalship or your principalship, the first thing you need to do in my mind is to internalize what the mission, the vision, and the core values of that school are. It needs to become your mission, your vision, and your core values. And if it needs to be tweaked, that's something you and your team do. That's something that you have those hard conversations. That's what you use your PLCs for. That's kind of the purpose of the school, always in a mode of continuous improvement. Element C, you're not only preparing the school, but the community for that. And you're making sure that the community understands why you need to have continuous improvement, why sometimes change is uncomfortable. It's because we're trying to move forward to making sure that everyone is successful. So it's also bringing your community along. It's engaging others. It's using evidence-based. It's not a feel-good approach. It's really what the research says. It's what has been proven. It's what you know is going to get the accomplishments or the goals and the objectives that you want to do. So it's got to be based in some reality, not a feel-good, not that I think this will work. It's got to be based on something that really, you don't want to spend your time and energy and getting your stakeholders on board, getting everybody on the right bus and the right seat, if it's something that's not going to get you some progress, if it's something that's not going to move you in the direction that you want to go, and that is toward fulfillment of your mission, vision, and your core values. So it's engaging others. It is also making sure that your strategies are appropriate, they're situationally appropriate, they fit your school. A strategy for Wake County, North Carolina may not be the best strategy for every elementary school in Wake County. So you need to know the culture and the climate of your school and make sure that you apply situational approaches. It is also making sure that you go back and you assess and you develop. You have that plan, do, study, act. You do everything it's a constant circle. It's a constant way in which you're trying to improve and looking for emerging trends. And this is an important component because we don't usually think of asking our principals or assistant principals to be looking at emerging educational trends, but you should be, because you want to be out there leading the continuous improvement. And that's why I think it's important. And Dr. Worrell, you tell me, but in every superintendent's position I've been in, I have encouraged my principals and my assistant principals to do staff development and to travel to staff development and to look for ways to belong to organizations, to subscribe to journals, and to take time in their day to look at those journals, to look at what they are picking up from their colleagues, to sending them off to where they have job-alike conferences. I really believe in that because I think that's where you see the emerging educational trends. And Dr. Worrell, I'll give you a chance to say something because I know I'm monopolizing it. But to me, that's important because I think if you want our leaders to be cutting edge, you want them to be constantly talking about continuous improvement, you've got to make them uncomfortable with the status quo. And to do that, you've got to show them ways in which it's being successfully done someplace else. They don't have to go and bring that whole model back to my little elementary school, but they ought to go back and bring what would work for my little elementary school. Dr. Worrell, do you have a similar philosophy?
Absolutely, Dr. Stone. And I think it's just constantly thinking about that we are improving or we are declining. And with that growth mindset that we can constantly get better, and that the more that we share with our colleagues and take ideas and tweak things with what's going on at our current schools, we just have stronger and stronger schools that meet the changing needs of our students. And thinking about the way that we did something 30 years ago, some parts of it may work, but keeping updated with the times and all the different things that we can learn from each other, and going to make those school visits and trying to think of how we can bring back the very best, whether you're reading about it or you're actually observing it.
And I'll tell you, Dr. Worrell was mentioning before the class began that she's serving on what we used to call an advanced ed team. And if you haven't had the opportunity to do that, I've served on 2, and I can tell you it's very powerful. And as a classroom teacher, it was really powerful when you got to visit the school, and I'm sure it's just as powerful virtually. But that's a great way too for you, I mean, because that's a way for professionals to go and see what's being done at another location, because there's so much power in what teachers are doing, not just in your district, but in other districts everywhere. Teachers are the most phenomenal resource, what they can think of, what they bring to the classroom. And it's a shame that so much of this is being done in isolation. And so when you get that leadership role, encourage your staff to go, to visit, and and you should always look for ways in which you can do that as well. And advanced ed, and what is it called now, Dr. Worrell?
It's called Cognia, and it is absolutely phenomenal with the training that's involved, and then actually the work that you do before the visit and then the visit. And it's a great process for continuous improvement, as Dr. Stone is talking about, because it's you're looking at monitoring and taking pieces of evidence and thinking about what changes you make with the evidence that you have, and it gives you an opportunity to really talk with the teacher leaders in the schools about why they've made certain decisions through the years, etc. And so it really is a very powerful process. So if any of your school districts are getting ready to go through the accreditation process in the next couple of years, you may want to go to the training, and it is online, and it's extremely helpful in thinking about all the different components of a school, and really a lot of shared decision making, making sure that decisions are not made in isolation, and thinking about if you have an administrator where all the decisions are made in the principal's office, sometimes that can turn into the emperor's new clothes. So getting lots of shared decision making and a lot of buy-in as people think about tweaks, et cetera, that need to be made in a school.
And it is awesome to bring it back to your school and say, oh, wow, this is how they do it. I mean, the learning from that is phenomenal.
It is.
Mindful of your time, we're going to continue talking about element G, which is using technology. Obviously makes sense. Use technology to connect to all the people that are important to you, but it also using it to monitor, to feedback, and to evaluation. Element H is to adopt system perspective. You got to get out of thinking about just what's best for my classroom. You got to have the perspective of what's best for my school, what's best for my school district, more importantly, what's best for the students and the services that we offer. You have to be able to manage uncertainty and to take risk. Competing, I mean, you've got to just deal with this whole politics mess. You just got to know that every day, everything has got a risk to it. Everything's got a robbing Peter to pay Paul. You just got to know, you got to keep on focusing on what's most important and make those tough decisions with courage and perseverance. And you got to build it. You got to build it with your people. Not only can you, the principal or the assistant principal, have it, but it ought to become the culture of your school. And you've got to do that by developing that in the leadership amongst your people in the building. All right, that is Standard 10. So we are through talking about the PEASL standards. I share these with you because they are important for you as a developing principal or as a developing administrator. I want you in your first job assignment to know exactly what's expected of you. I want you to know exactly what you're going to be evaluated on. And if we evaluated you on it, it means it is important to us. It is important to you as an administrator to exhibit these qualities. All right, so that's it. Are there any questions on the PEASL standards or anything we've covered tonight? Casey, you're up next week. Next week, by the way, we are going to spend talking about these scenarios. Dr. Worrell and I are going to talk about those, and we're going to give you some helpful advice about how we would have handled that, or how in our current roles or as a superintendent, how we would have dealt with that. It's just some kind of things you need to know, because those case scenarios or case studies are designed to get you to thinking as an administrator. What would you do? And so you may want to, if you haven't done those, please go ahead and try to have those done. No, there are wrong answers. Absolutely, there are wrong answers.
Yes.
There are
Illegal.
many wrong answers, but we want to make sure that that you don't do any of them. And from what I've read from your research, you are thinking through these. But we just want to talk through them about why. Also remind you, again, those student surveys should have been sent to you. Please do that. We do use the feedback. It goes to, there's anonymous, but it will make its way back in the compiled data for Dr. Worrell and I about how we can improve 605 or any of our programs. We will meet next week on the 24th. Remember the 23rd, try to have everything done in TaskStream. Final date is the 30th. Drop everything you're doing in Blackboard. If you are behind in TaskStream, please. You and I have got a little bit more time to work on that. Reach out to me or Dr. Worrell if you are having problems, COVID related or anything else that's going to make it a little difficult for you. That said, I've kept you an additional 4 minutes. You are kind to stay with me. So you all have a great night, and I'm going to stop recording, but I'll stick around in case there are any